All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another year of Book Drops. Happy New Year, everybody. This is our first broadcast of the new year. So we have some interesting topics, I believe, to talk about today. As usual, I am Don Boozer. I am the manager of the Literature Department here at Cleveland Public Library and the coordinator of the Ohio Center for the Book.
And I'm Sarah Flynn. I'm the manager of the Popular Library.
So we want to welcome you back to Book Drops. We have some interesting topics today to talk about. We do want to give you an update that we are looking forward to having some other guest hosts, so you won't have to look at me all the time that you log into our little broadcast here. We are looking forward to inviting some of the other staff members from around the Cleveland Public Library branches and main library, and we have a number of different topics that we're looking to do. And so Sarah and I will be sharing hosting duties with our colleagues. Some of the various topics that we have that we're going to be talking about are going to be environmental nonfiction for around Earth Day. We have some short story collections that we're going to be looking at, Westerns. I believe you are going to do one on weird fiction.
Yes, I already started reading some.
So we have that. We have African American Christianity as and I'm going to be working with another person here at the library on books on language and linguistics. So I'm looking forward to that. It's one of my favorite topics. Of course, romance will also be a topic of. I believe you are taking that one, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Yeah. And also, we're going to be looking at some LGBTQIA and some teen fiction as well. So we're also looking for other people to do some other topics as well. So we're looking forward to having a nice variety, and both in topics and in faces this year. So that'll be something new. Look at us expanding in our repertoire. So one of the big book-related topics that I just found out today was that they have announced the name of the Amazon Lord of the Rings TV series. The title has been announced.
Okay.
And the title is, let's see if I can do that. Look at that. There we go. The Rings of Power. So we are clearly set in the second age of Middle Earth, and don't get me started. So,
so what does that mean?
That is the 3 rings for elven kings, and the 7 for the dwarf lords, and the 9 for mortal men doomed to die, and 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne. So
right.
just go there, yeah. But I'm still cautiously optimistic. I don't know whether I'm more cautious or optimistic, but we'll see. But I there's a lot of material to work with, from the Silmarillion and the appendices and the legends and all that sort of thing. So we will see. But that is some big book-related news that I have. And we'll also be talking about another book that we're going to be talking about that's also been optioned for television as well. So we'll fingers crossed on that one as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Would you like to take these? Since I've been talking for a while, I feel like put it over to you. And the first, these are books that we are both looking forward to reading here. Some were just published last year. I think a couple of mine were even maybe the year before. That's been on my list for a while, and we're making a commitment here on the broadcast to say these are the ones we're going to read. So follow up in December and see if we actually read them.
Right. And I have some of mine too that fit into the topics that we're having guests on. So some of mine are a little bit older because they
multitasking.
Fit into the topics. I know. So I'm trying to get ahead of it before it's a week ahead of a show. Let me see. The first one, I've never read James Rollins. Have you?
I have not.
And I've heard so much about this book, The Starless Crown. And my hold just came in. So it's...
yes, we have to wait for holds too, just like everybody else. Just want to make that clear. So we get no perks.
An alliance embarks on a dangerous journey to uncover the secrets of the distant past and save their world in this captivating, deeply visionary adventure from #1 New York Times bestselling thriller master James Rollins. On the run, hunted by enemies old and new, they must learn to trust each other in order to survive in a world evolved in strange, beautiful, and deadly ways, and uncover ancient secrets that hold the key to their salvation.
Dun, dun,
so
dun.
It sounds pretty epic.
Yeah, that sounds pretty epic. Yeah, yeah. Is it part of a series? Do you know?
I don't. If it is, it's the first one, because it didn't say like book 2 or anything like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, I think he's kind of I think in the past he's been more of like a traditional thriller writer. So maybe stepping out of it.
Got it. Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. My first one that I'm looking for that has not been published yet, that will be published in 2022, is the Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. John Scalzi is an Ohio author, as a matter of fact. Has written some great books. Old Man's War is one of my ones that I always recommend to people. And the exciting thing is that I did see on his blog, and his blog is great if you're it gets political and that sort of thing, but it's a fun read. But he just posted recently that it has also been optioned for television as well. So the basic concept, the kaiju, for those of you who do not know, are the giant Japanese movie monsters like Godzilla and Rodan and that, like Pacific Rim. Exactly. So I always thought Pacific Rim made up the word kaiju, but evidently that is the term that you use in Japan for the giant monsters. So that's legit. The whole idea of the Kaiju Preservation Society is that a portal has opened up between Earth and the planet where the kaiju live, and that now the kaiju are actually in peril for their very existence by the humans that are like interacting with now. So it's not necessarily that the kaiju are attacking Earth; it's that the
humans are going
through, and exactly. So he joins up with the protagonist in the book, joins up with the Kaiju Preservation Society to help preserve the planet of the kaiju. So. But if it's John Scalzi, it's going to be a lot of fun to read. For those of you who haven't had a chance to read his Interdependency series trilogy, great read. Did you read those by any chance?
No, I was going to say Red Shirts.
Oh, Red Shirts. Red Shirts is a lot of fun. If you haven't read Red Shirts, because pretty much anything John Scalzi writes, you're going to have a good time reading it. So for those of you who have not read John Scalzi, I highly recommend picking up some of those, and then this will be coming out in March. So March will be and they're actually taking pre-orders now online and things like that. So we're looking forward to getting that one, and so I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, sounds great. I have a weird fiction one that I picked that's not a new release, but was on all of these lists, and I love the cover, and I think we talked about it a little bit. It's illustrated as well and throughout the book. Which I got my copy on Libby, and it doesn't have the illustration, so I'm gonna have to come up and snag it from your floor. So it's called The 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Bluebear. It's by Walter Moers. And I was reading a little bit about it. He does not take credit for any of his works, instead saying that he is merely translating the works of a dinosaur called Optimus Yarn Spinner. So, which
Optimus Yarn Spinner
kind of sets up the whole, and I'll give you a little bit. So he goes through different phases in this. The Bluebear does. He begins life floating in a walnut shell in the North Simonian Sea, and in the grip of the maelstrom, a mysterious giant whirlpool that all the world sailors take care to avoid. He is saved by a fearless crew of mini pirates, diminutive buccaneers who adopt the bear as a good luck charm. He grows up on a diet of exclusively seaweed and water and begins to apprentice the mini pirates' nautical way of life. Aboard their tiny craft, he learns much of wave sailing and knot tying, but after 5 years aboard, he grows too large for the ship, and the mini pirates regretfully maroon him on an island. So I think like each.
And if I remember correctly, that is the illustrations on the cover of the book too, with him sitting in the boat with.
Yes.
And the illustrations are absolutely adorable. It really gives the vibe whenever you were showing it to me of a children's book, but it's not designed for children from what we can understand.
No. And you know what? I said I was showing you the cover with the illustrations, but actually I had started it on audio. So that's why too. So I actually don't know if the digital version has the illustrations or not, but yeah. So
that's very that one looks like a lot of fun. It just sort of quirky and
not something I would normally pick. But.
Exactly. And the title of that one again was
The 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Bluebear.
Captain Bluebear. That's awesome. My next one is actually, it was already been released in the UK back in May of last year, but from as much as I can understand, it's being released in the United States in March. So another March book, and it is The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. I know that I have talked ad nauseum about the 1,000 Ships by the other author that talks about the Trojan War and that kind of thing. So this is actually, it's set in the ancient world. But it is set in Pompeii, And the interesting thing is that the author actually sets it in the brothel in Pompeii that they have actually unearthed. And she uses the scenes, the settings of Pompeii, the streets, the whole thing. So it's one of my bucket list things is to actually go to Pompeii and walk the streets and that sort of thing. I think that would be very cool. And this strikes me as a very virtual way of going there. And so like I said, this was published back in May. And so let me just read you a quick synopsis so that we can get a setting here. So, sold by her mother, enslaved in Pompeii's brothel, determined to survive. Her name is Amara. Welcome to the Wolf Den. And the Wolf Den is actually the Latin name for the brothel. It's the lupanar, and that the women who were made to work there were referred to as she-wolves. So that's where they get the lupanar. And Amara was once a beloved daughter until her father's death plunged her family into penury. Now she is a slave in Pompeii's infamous brothel owned by a man she despises. Sharp, clever, and resourceful, Amara is forced to hide her talents. For now, her only value lies in the desire she can stir in others. And so Amara is, of course, the main character. She is follows her through the time that her mother had to sell her because the family's become in poverty from her father's death and that sort of thing. So all the reviews I read, I say that it's done really well. It really gives you a sense of place. And the fact that it was published in May of last year also says that then, well, the sequel to it, there is actually going to be a sequel called The House with the Golden Door. That is coming up to be published in the UK in May of this year. So we're probably talking another year before the sequel comes out here. So I have some time to read it. So we will hopefully go from there. But I think that the whole, anytime that you can really get a sense of place back in the ancient world, I think it really gives a sense of, that, those were actual people that lived back there. It's not just, names in a book. So, so it seems very, very engrossing. So
you got a comment, Don?
Oh, hello.
So I have an interesting one called The Atlas 6. It's by Olivia Blake. And she self-published it. It was on Kindle, but it went viral on TikTok with 11 million mentions. And then she had a bidding war over it. So it's kind of a cool story.
That's cool.
Yeah. So Tor, the publisher, won that battle and is publishing a revised edition with new illustrations in March of this year.
March is going to be a big year for the publishing industry. Yeah,
I think so. And then also Amazon bought the rights to it already. So
there you go. Another tie-in. So we'll have to do another television tie-in this
I know, it's coming out quick. So the story is the Alexandrian Society, caretakers of lost knowledge from the greatest civilizations of antiquity, are the foremost secret society of magical scholars in the world. Those who earn a place among the Alexandrians will secure a life of wealth, power, and prestige beyond their wildest dreams. And each decade, only the 6 most uniquely talented magicians are selected to be considered for initiation.
Oh,
so a little
cool.
Library.
Very cool.
Twist to it. So yeah.
Excellent. And you said that's another March one?
March.
Okay. Very cool. A nonfiction one that I heard one of the authors interviewed on a podcast is entitled "The Dawn of Everything: A New History of Humanity," and I believe I have the cover of that one, just so anybody wants to. And the cover is so generic. It's like right there. It's like that's it. It's typefaces on a oddly colored orange background. So, but unfortunately, one of the authors, from what I understand, just died recently before. Whenever the book was just coming out, so he's never been able to see the success that it's had. But it is basically a retelling of everything of humanity. So it is. So again, the title is "The Dawn of Everything: A New History of Humanity." David Graeber and David Wengrow are the authors, and what it does is basically use the most current findings in anthropology and archaeology and paleontology, and to just basically rewrite the whole history of the beginning of civilization. Because for generations, people have said that our remote ancestors were primitive and childlike, and they were either free and easy, on the savannah, or that they were, warlike and thugs and this sort of thing. But they saying civilization, we're told, could be achieved only by sacrificing those original freedoms, or alternatively by taming our baser instincts. And the authors then show how how those theories first emerged in the 18th century as a conservative reaction to powerful critiques of European society posed by indigenous observers and intellectuals. So the whole idea is that we were having more contacts with indigenous peoples around the world, and they seem to be doing well and seem to be doing fine without our Western civilization civilizing them, and that these critiques grew out of well, here's how our civilization started. But it says, revisiting this encounter has startling implications for how we make sense of human history today, including the origins of farming, the origins of farming, property, cities, democracy, slavery, and civilization itself. And I think the podcast that I was listening to was talking about how cities grew up, and that the earliest cities that they found don't appear to have any sort of hierarchical structure. There's no palace. it was sort of just, here everybody decided to live together for the better good and for the betterment of everybody else. And so I think it's really interesting to see these myths that you sort of take for granted, saying, we're going to pop that balloon, and here's another one. And I have another book on here that sort of goes along those same ways, but I'm really looking forward to this one that just sort of covers the entire scope of, humanity and how we started out. So
nice. I've got one that was on a lot of lists that is new, called How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. Beginning in 2030, a grieving archaeologist arrives in the Arctic Circle to continue the work of his recently deceased daughter at a crater where researchers are studying long-buried secrets now revealed in melting permafrost, including the perfectly preserved remains of a girl who appears to have died of an ancient virus. Once unleashed, the Arctic plague will reshape life on Earth for generations to come. Yeah. Quickly traversing the globe, forcing humanity to devise a myriad of moving and inventive ways to embrace the possibility in the face of tragedy. In a theme park designed for terminally ill children, a cynical employee falls in love with a mother desperate to hold on to her infected son. A heartbroken scientist searching for a cure finds a second chance at fatherhood when one of his test subjects, a pig, develops the capacity for human speech. And a widowed painter and her teenage granddaughter embark on a cosmic quest to locate a new home planet. So
very cool.
I know. I read that. I was like, okay.
There's a lot going on there.
Adding that one, yeah.
Wow. That's very cool. So I guess we got permafrost. We had the humanity stuff. So another one that I'm looking forward to reading that has been on my list for too long, and I'm putting it on my list for this year, is let's see here. You can't really see that. So it is Kindred, Neanderthal Life, Love, Death, and Art by Rebecca Sykes. And I think that this is interesting because one of the things that I found interesting about the Neanderthals is that, you do your DNA test now. They tell you what percentage Neanderthal you are. So, that having that kindred with this, that for the longest time, people thought Neanderthals were just, brutish cavemen and couldn't do anything and all that kind of stuff. So the more we find out about them, the more interesting they become, since they're relatives of ours, so to speak. But again, she uses the most cutting edge research and discoveries that I think that have been found about the Neanderthals, and the more we find out about them with the doing the artwork and making artifacts and all those kinds of things, it's just a fascinating way. And looking at their relationship to modern humans, it gives us a whole different perspective, I think, on the origins of humanity as well. So this is another one that sort of falls in that paleontology category for me. Nice.
I have a romance next, The Siren of Sussex by Mimi Matthews. It has a great cover too. So Evelyn Maltravers understands exactly how little she's worth on the marriage mart. As an incurable blue stocking from a family tumbling swiftly toward ruin, she knows she'll never make a match in a ballroom. Her only hope is to distinguish herself by making the biggest splash in the one sphere she excels, on horseback. In haute couture, but to truly capture London's attention, she'll need a habit maker who's not afraid to take risks with his designs and with his heart.
Very cool. Very good. You have given me a whole new appreciation for romance novels too. I want to say it sounds like, I mean, the sheer pleasure you can get out of reading them is like, just throw caution to the wind, and
it's they're wonderful, and they're going to end up great. So
Exactly.
if you need that in your life.
And that literally is a requirement for the genre, right? It has to
exactly.
end happily.
Yep, that's why we had talked about before. People said, "Oh, Nicholas Sparks is romance." I was like, absolutely not.
Not so much. No,
nope.
Sorry. No.
So.
Very cool. So speaking of romance, we'll go the opposite direction. Another one that's been on my list for a while is a graphic. I was anything that's nonfiction. Nonfiction comics is what it is. Okay, let's say that. And it is the title is "Seek You: A Journey Through American Loneliness" by Kristen Radke. It was published in July of last year, and the Seek You title, it's SEEKYOU. But it's also a radio call sign for shortwave radio. They will be on. They'll call out CQ for if they're looking for somebody to talk to online. And so I thought that was an interesting way to. And the reason there's a complicated reason for why they do it, but it is. I thought it was interesting that she used the CQ as a jumping off point for the words then too. But it says in this wide-ranging exploration of our inner lives and public selves, Radke digs into the ways in which we attempt to feel closer to one another and the distance that remains. And she talks about ranging from the invention of the laugh track to the rise of Instagram, the bootstrap pulling cowboy to the brutal experiments of Harry Harlow. Radke investigates why we engage with each other and what we risk when we turn away. So I think in this age of social media, it seems very poignant to be looking at this kind of stuff too. So I've been very curious about what she talks about in this. So that's been on my list for a while. I had to look up Harry Harlow, the experiments of Harry Harlow. For those of you who don't know, that was the experiments where they used the baby monkeys and they had the wire cage and the cage with the a mannequin, a monkey mummy mannequin had the wire cage, and a monkey mannequin that had like fur on it. And that it would get food. It could only get food from the one that had the wire, but it would go and get the food, and then it would run back to the fur, and then like curl itself in the fur. And so it is harrowing. So it's like I understand. So that she brings that whole into the thing. So I'm very interested to see how that plays in as well. But should be interesting. So and thought provoking. Let's go with thought provoking.
I've got a sci-fi one, "The Darkness Outside Us" by Elliot Schreffer. Two boys alone in space. After the first settler on Titan trips her distress signal, neither remaining country on Earth can afford to scramble a rescue of its own. And so two sworn enemies are installed in the same spaceship. Ambrose wakes up on the coordinated endeavor with no memory of a launch. There's more that doesn't add up. Evidence indicates strangers have been on board. The ship's operating system is voiced by his mother, and his handsome brooding shipmate has barricaded himself away. But nothing will stop Ambrose from making his mission succeed, not when he's rescuing his own sister. In order to survive the ship's secrets, Ambrose and Kodiak will need to work together and learn to trust one another, especially once they discover what they are truly up against.
Wow. Okay. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That reminds me, this is completely off topic, but have you ever seen Enemy Mine?
No.
With Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr.? Oh, it's an older movie, but it's an alien and a human crash land on this planet, and they're sworn enemies, and then it ends up that they have to learn how to like work together to survive. And and then one of them gets pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
They self-impregnate, so they are with child just as a matter of their course of their lives. So then there's a baby on the way. So
oh my gosh, I haven't heard of it.
It's done very well. For those of you who've seen it, all I can say is Mickey Mouse. The one book, I think I asked you last time, did you ever read any Jennifer Egan?
No, I always heard good things about Goon Squad.
So there is a book of hers coming out April of this year called The Candy House, which I find fascinating. It says it's 2010, staggeringly successful and brilliant tech entrepreneur Bix Booten is desperate for a new idea. He's 40 with 4 kids and restless when he stumbles into a conversation with mostly Columbia professors. And he comes up with this new technology called Own Your Unconscious that allows you to access every memory you've ever had and to share every memory in exchange for access to the memories of others. And so this seduces the multitudes, and chaos ensues, basically. I mean, and just reading the description about, own your conscious and you're sharing your memories, it's so social media-y, it's so timely, and that's sort of I found this whenever I was looking at the CQ one, and it's like, there's so much connection, but there's still so much loneliness and so much separation and stuff. So seeing this in a novel form I think would be very interesting. So in April, The Candy House is on my list. So
nice. I know that Colleen Hoover, I've seen a bunch of her books and people have recommended them, and I have not read any. So I picked Verity, and I've heard a lot of good things about her, so I'm hoping this is good. Loan Ashley is a struggling writer on the brink of financial ruin when she accepts the job offer of a lifetime. Jeremy Crawford, husband of best-selling author Verity Crawford, has hired Loan to complete the remaining books in the successful series his injured wife is unable to finish. She arrives at the Crawford home ready to sort through years of Verity's notes and outlines, hoping to find enough material to get her started. What Loan doesn't expect to uncover in the chaotic office is an unfinished autobiography Verity never intended for anyone to read. Page after page of bone-chilling admissions, including Verity's recollection of what really happened the day her daughter died.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I swear a lot of these, you need that dum, dum, dum.
I know. I want to be the person that writes like the juicy little
yeah.
How can I entice someone to read this
Exactly.
in like 6 sentences?
Exactly. Another one on my list is titled Babel, or the Necessity of Violence, an Arcane History of the Oxford Translators Revolution by R.F. Quang. The author, she has written a book here. So let me just read here. So it has to do with translation and colonialism and all that sort of thing. But it says, Babel is the world's center for translation and, more importantly, magic. Silver working, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enchanted silver bars, has made the British unparalleled in power as its knowledge serves the empire's quest for colonization. For Robin, Oxford is a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge, but knowledge obeys power, and as a Chinese boy raised in Britain, Robin realizes serving Babel means betraying his motherland. And as his studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babel and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to stopping imperial expansion. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide.
Oh my gosh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. And I read The Poppy War by her.
Oh, did you really? Oh, wow.
So good.
Oh,
yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that had all kinds of good reviews whenever I was looking at it.
Yeah, I haven't read the second and third book, but the first one was unbelievable.
Oh, very
really,
cool.
Kind of like, like epic fantasy.
Oh, very cool.
Great.
Yeah. There's so many books, so many authors, so little time. So that one's coming out in August of this year. So,
and I have a short one that is actually short stories, but I didn't want to go through and like list all those short stories, but one of our guests coming up wanted to share some short stories. So I looked through and picked 20th Century Ghosts by Joe Hill, especially because there is a story in there called The Black Phone, and there is a movie adaptation coming out in June with Ethan Hawke. So I've got till June to read it.
Speaking of Ethan Hawke, have you seen the TV adaptation of Good Lord Bird?
No.
We just started watching it. It is wild.
Really?
It is wild.
I don't know anything about it.
So it's based, of course, on the book, Good Lord Bird.
Yeah.
But man, John Brown he's a character.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm not sure how closely it used. And I find it interesting since John Brown has so many Northeast Ohio connections in Hudson and all around the area. But wow, it's, if you get a chance, I think it's on Netflix or Amazon. I can't remember which one. It's on one of the streaming services. But wow, Ethan Hawke does a command performance. It is something else. On a lighter note, I thought it was fun that I found a nonfiction book. Being a librarian, it's an occupational hazard. So this book is called, let me see if it'll come up. So there it is. So Index, A History of. And it is a bookish adventure from medieval manuscripts to the digital age about the index. You wouldn't think anybody could write a book on an index, but I found it, the title itself was enough to pull me in with the Index, A History of. And taking it for granted that you can look up something in the back of a book to look something up in the book is evidently not a given. So there's a whole history of it going back to medieval times and that sort of thing. So I was like, that might be a fun little read. So that one is on my list as well. That one is coming out in February. So looks like we have talked for about a half an hour now. Do you have anything else you'd like to end with?
Hit all of mine.
Oh, well, look at that. Look at that. And also on my list is, of course, the Project Hail Mary, because she's talked about it so much that she has pulled me into that. So I have to. And you said the audiobook is also. Did you do that in audio or did you?
I did not do that in audio.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
I read that one.
Okay, so we'll have that one is on my list. So thank you for
adding more
to my list. And that's I've also been adding mine to Goodreads too. So that's another occupational hazard. So it's like I like that one.
The 100 book challenge for 2022.
So we'll see. There you go. Well, thank you for joining us for our first episode of 2022. We look forward to sharing more books with you and to sharing the perspectives of some of our colleagues as well here at the Cleveland Public Library. So happy reading, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.